Sarah, with her walking cane, strolls through the park, heading to the supermarket. Her routine is steady like the changing seasons. One afternoon, a rustling noise disrupts her peace. A group of teenagers, who often hang out in the park, starts to surround her. Sarah's heart races as they block her way. One of them calls out, "Yes, this is her." Nervous, Sarah watches as a boy approaches and reaches into his pocket. Fearing the worst, she braces herself for something dangerous. But instead, the boy hands her something, and she is surprised and moved to tears. What did the teenagers want from Sarah? What did they give her, and why did it make her cry? Sarah smiles as she walks through the park and looks around. The autumn sun is shining, and it is a beautiful day. It isn't far to the supermarket now. Sarah notices a group of teenage boys gathered a little down the road, but she doesn't think much of it. Sarah walks towards the teenage boys, her gaze fixed on a point just beyond them, trying to convey disinterest. With each step, she feels a mix of wariness and curiosity. Why are they there? This isn't the usual indifference she encounters. Their attention is pointed, and it feels like they are waiting for something. Sarah's heart skips a beat, unsure of what to do. Their stares are unabashed, curious, and strangely expectant. Suddenly, the boys spread out smoothly, encircling Sarah, cutting off her intended route. She stops, unsure of what is going on. What could these boys possibly want with her? Why wouldn't they let her pass? Sarah's eyes dart from one face to another, seeking an explanation. Relief washes over her, though it is quickly overshadowed by bewilderment. Why do these boys have her flyer? Sarah examines the paper, her confusion deepening as she realizes it is indeed the flyer she had made for her missing cat, Bubbles. The familiar photo of Bubbles, alongside her contact information, stares back at her. But how and why do these boys have it? "Why do you have this?" Sarah asks, her voice quivering slightly. The boy who had handed her the flyer simply says, "We found it," with a hint of a smile. Sarah's fear begins to melt away, replaced by a spark of hope. What had started as an intimidating circle now feels more like a gathering of allies. Now Sarah is eager to hear more. "Where is Bubbles? Do you know where she is?" she asks, her voice filled with hope and anticipation. "The last time we saw him, he was in the park over there." One of the boys points in the direction of a nearby park. They suggest she wait here while they check again. Despite their offer to go without her, Sarah shakes her head emphatically. "No, I have to come with you. I can't just wait here now when Bubbles might be so close." Her voice is firm, leaving no room for argument. The boys exchange glances that nod in agreement. They start walking towards the park, the boys leading the way, Sarah following close behind. She can't wait to see Bubbles again. Upon reaching the unfamiliar park, Sarah follows the boys as they lead her through the winding paths to a specific tree. She has never been to this part of the neighborhood before and is surprised by its serene beauty. "There," one boy exclaims, pointing upwards. Sarah's gaze follows to the high branches of the tree, where Bubbles is perched, looking as majestic and indifferent as only a cat could. Sarah's heart leaps at the sight of him. He had been missing for days, and seeing him now feels surreal. He explained that they had spotted him there over the last several days, unsure of how to rescue him. Sarah couldn't believe that he had gone to a park she had never visited before and didn't even know existed. Gratitude washed over her as she realized the lengths these boys had gone to find her and help her reunite with Bubbles. Sarah stepped up, calling out to Bubbles with a voice that shook a bit. "Hey, Bubs, it's me." The way Bubbles mewed back was like he was saying, "Finally, you found me." Sarah had to blink away happy tears. She pondered over how he found himself in such a predicament and, more importantly, how they would manage to bring him down safely. She was desperate to get him down to make sure he was okay. Every minute that passed with Bubbles up in that tree felt like an hour, her mind racing with what-ifs and how-tos. The relief of finding him was bittersweet, mixed with anxiety for his safety. The fear of causing Bubbles more harm than good loomed large, making the decision process even more fraught. Sarah, feeling the weight of the situation, suggested calling the fire department. It seemed like the safest option to have professionals handle the rescue. Just as Sarah was about to make the call, one of the boys stepped forward with a determined look. "I can climb up and try to get him," he said confidently. Sarah couldn't help but feel concerned for the boy. She didn't want him to get hurt trying to rescue her cat. Sarah hesitated, unsure of what to do. After a moment of anxious deliberation, Sarah gave her reluctant consent to the boy's plan. Watching him approach the tree, her heart was in her throat. She admired his courage, yet couldn't shake off the dread of him getting hurt. Sarah watched, heart pounding, as he skillfully navigated the branches, inching closer to the stranded cat. As the boy climbed closer, Bubbles' loud meows filled the air, a clear sign of his distress. The sound tugged at Sarah's heartstrings, reinforcing the urgency of the rescue. Despite his precarious situation, Bubbles seemed aware of the attempt to save him, his cries becoming more frequent as the boy drew nearer. Sarah hoped Bubbles wouldn't do anything rash. A small crowd had started to form around the tree, drawn by the drama of the rescue attempt. Onlookers watched with bated breath, ready to offer assistance or call for help if needed. The silence was heavy, filled with the collective anticipation of those gathered. Sarah, standing behind the supportive group of teenagers, could barely contain her racing heart, dreading any misstep that could endanger both Bubbles and his brave rescuer. The safety of Bubbles and the boy was all that mattered, and the wait for any sign of their well-being seemed endless. Suddenly, a scream pierced the tense silence, jolting Sarah from her thoughts. Her eyes flew open, her heart thudding with dread. Had something gone wrong? The fear of a fall, of injury, of the worst-case scenario she'd been trying to push from her mind flooded her with a cold rush. Sarah's gaze darted from the tree to the ground, and a moment of panic set in when she realized Bubbles was no longer on his branch. Had he fallen? Was he hurt? The tree seemed too silent in the absence of Bubbles' distressed meows. Suddenly, the loud and quiet crowd seemed to hold their breath. Where was the boy, and where was Bubbles? Before Sarah's panic could spiral further, one of the boys stepped forward, Bubbles cradled safely in his arms. The relief that washed over Sarah was indescribable. She reached out, her hands trembling as she took her beloved pet into her arms, feeling his familiar weight and warmth. Bubbles was safe, unharmed, and finally back where he belonged. However, that relief was short-lived when she found out how Bubbles had actually come down. It turned out that Bubbles hadn't been rescued in the traditional sense. After being taken into the climbing boy's arms, Bubbles had become spooked. Instead of staying put, he had taken a leap of faith. Luckily, another quick-thinking boy caught him, so he landed safely. Sarah felt extra grateful to the boys for saving her furry friend from a bad fall. Sarah looked at the boys with tears of thanks and said, "Thank you so much." She invited them to visit any time. In the following weeks, the boys came over for tea and chats, and they became real friends. Their talks covered everything from simple topics to deep ideas, creating a bridge between their generations. Sarah loved their company and found joy in their refreshing perspectives. Sarah, Bubbles, and her new friends formed a special bond through kindness, bravery, and their shared experience. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.